Namaste everyone. So yeah, this is my Akhand Diya video where I'm talking about wicks, that is the batti. Like the last video we did see that we need a large enough lamp to carry a lot of oil, so we don't have to keep refilling the oil all the time. I've also shot a separate video that just talks about the oil or the ghee or whatever fuel we want to use. And this one talks about the wick because I think those three are the main components of the Akhand Diya. And if you see, I've kept some cotton here because that's basically what I use for the wick. You don't even need this much, you need a little bit, like this much will be enough. And then what I do is, see, the whole thing about Akhand Diya is that it remains as is. Because we have a very large diya, we need to refill the oil maybe every 12 hours or 14 hours on average. And then the only other thing where we actually need to do anything is that as I showed you also in a previous video, is that the wick over here gets burnt up. See this wick, the top part here is fully burnt actually. So if you see, if I do like this, you see it's come out. It's fully burnt black part of it. So I can just remove it. And I put like a small container like this which keeps all my black stuff, because the Akhand Diya really churns out this black stuff a lot. And then obviously this is the actual wick, so I just raise it a bit so it has enough, like little bit on top and little white part which is the new wick which will now burn. Obviously it's soaked in oil because from below all that it's in oil only. The other thing about the wick is the size of the wick. As I have shown in a previous video also, I could just make it really big like this. The flame will become bigger, and then this is, with the bigger flame the oil usage is more. See, it is starting to smoke a bit also, so you have to be careful that lot of these factors like the smoking of the flame, the oil usage, the how soon I need to keep changing the wick, everything will depend on this size here. So this one I learnt a little bit later, so I make it tiny, whatever minimum little bit. Apart from refilling the oil, this is the second maintenance thing where we have to keep bringing the wick a little bit higher up. And so when I spoke about the types of Akhand Diya, there are certain temples I have seen which actually have an Akhand Diya. I don't know whether they specially got it made or they got it from somewhere, but they actually have that kerosene lamp mechanism where you just turn a knob from outside and the wick goes up on its own. So and I had actually spoken, I discussed a bit over there, and the watchmen, they just whispered to me in the corner saying that the new pujari doesn't know how to do it. That's why for him we had to get this knob system. Otherwise we always used to work with the normal diya, and we used to keep the wick raised as required, and it was fine. But anyway, this new priest was not able to do it, so they had to get that mechanism. So obviously such a mechanism does exist somewhere, so if that's something you're really keen on, you can look out for it. And I'm not a master in this. I can only tell you a few things I have learned, but there's a lot more. I'm sure in the, I don't know whether to say age-old days or whether to say even now in some of the Shastras, there may be a lot of detail on how to maintain the wick for the Akhand Diya. I don't know any of that. I just know what I have learned in the more than 2 years I've kept this Akhand Diya in my house, and whatever I've learned I can share. So as I was mentioning, the best way I have found is that I use normal cotton. The good thing about normal cotton is you also don't run out of it because it's always there in the house. The wicks, if I get from outside, then I may run out of it and all that stuff. And especially because I am traveling, the kind of wicks I get in different places are very different. So what I do with this cotton is, now we want a very long wick because we just need to keep raising it. There is a time when the wick completely gets over. There's nothing to raise anymore, in which case I need to change the complete wick. I will show that to you in the latter part of the video. I will show how I change the wick and keep the flame on. So right now I'm just what I do is, so I want a longish wick, right? So I take this much of cotton and then I move it, make it a little long like this, and then that's all. I just pat it down. And now the very important part is to twirl it. It has to be twirled. See, because what happens is that if you have a loose wick like this, first of all it won't go inside, but even if it goes inside, this part will get completely soaked in the oil and it becomes like a balloon. It really blows up like anything. You cannot have this kind of a loose structure. Even if you don't twirl it properly, it blows up down, because see, the top part of the wick will start burning away right away, but the bottom part of the wick remains in the oil for 12 hours, 15 hours, 3 days, 4 days, depending on the length, depending on how much the diya will go on. So for 4 days, if this oil has to remain soaked and remain in normal shape, you have to twirl it very properly. So yeah, this is the twirling part is really important. So you just twirl it properly. It has to get packed, but at the same time you have to take enough cotton that it has some thickness. It should not be extremely thin. Sometimes it happens that my wicks are very thin and it has its own problems. It starts getting burnt a little bit more quickly. So you see, you just keep twirling it and twirling it. This will also build a hand strength. And it's not too much, like maybe a minute if I were to just do it. You have to basically see that it has to be tightly packed wool and dense, not like sparse. If you need, you can just take a bit more wool. Like see, this is how it is. It's pretty long. It's longer than what I get in the market, and if you realize I just made it in like a minute or so, it doesn't take much time at all. If you want a bit more, you can even sometimes what happens is middle patches become very thin. So you just put some wool there like this and twirl it up. So it will take it in. It is not a problem. And so I have found this method to be the best. It is not very time consuming and it's good. It's a good method overall. So yeah, you see, I've added some wool here. Now a little bit thin here, but it's okay. It's not an issue. And the length is pretty good. One can even do longer, but you can experiment with longer. This much works very well for me. As I told you, this one will work easily. It could go as long as 15 days. 15 days with this one wick it may go on. Depends again on if I put the wick up and it burns out quickly. If I put it right down, just little bit is up and small flame is lit for a long time, then of course it will go on for longer. But as much as 15 days it could easily go on. There have been rare cases where for some reason there have been cases where the wick I don't know, maybe I made it so perfect or something, but it doesn't need anything. It just goes on. I just need to keep pouring the oil. The wick is as is. It doesn't get burnt, so I don't have to move it much. Then slowly, and I don't know, for a month or what, it's just gone on and on. It's so amazing. But so this is what I find the most easiest way of dealing with wicks. I have from outside also I have got those pre-made wicks, which are those loose cotton long things, in which case the problem I find with those is they're not packed like this. See, I've taken a bunch of wool and I've pulled it hard, so it's a packed one. This is correct. If I soak it in oil, it won't become like a balloon. Those very loose wicks, if you don't pack it up, see what you have to do with those loose wicks also, you have to take 2 of them and you have to twirl it together and make it tightly packed. Only then you put it in. If you put it in without it, it's going to cause a balloon down below. The other type that is there, so I saw the Akhand Diya in the Somnath temple of Saurashtra, Gujarat. They actually have a shrine. You know how the main deity is there, and near that there is Hanumanji, Ganpati, other smaller deities in a way, and they've kept smaller shrines. Same way, there was one shrine which on top was Akhand Diya. Very clearly Akhand Diya. They had a large bowl kind of a diya. I peeped inside and looked at the wick, and they had a very long snaking wick, a very long one. I would say maybe 2 times or 3 times this size. But it was not cotton like this, because I could make out it was some kind of thread. So I'm sure there are other options available. You can check in the temples. Hey folks, so I'm just changing the wick. I don't know if you can see, this wick is non-existent. I don't know how this is even burning right now. So usually I make this wick, which I have showed you in the earlier part of this video. I just dip it and I keep it like this. This is actually longer than my usual wicks. That's fine, it could be a good thing. So I keep it like this, and then what I will do is from this fire I'll burn this wick. And here we already have the new wick is lit. Now we just need to take this wick So I'm just going to remove it. It is a little quite tiny. I dip it a little bit so it doesn't go right away. I'll put it at the side. I don't. What I do is I just put it in one small lamp so it doesn't completely just go off right away. And I'll clean this a bit. So if you see for this lamp, I currently have two lamps in this house. So previously what you saw in the video is my other lamp. This lamp, there is a bit of oil that's leaked out. This doesn't happen very often and happens very rarely. And there is a little bit of black residue also down, which means that this lamp needs to get washed very soon. So for that I have put up one story where I'm showing you all how I wash this lamp. Now I just have to put this wick in. I don't know if you can see the flame has started smoking. It will smoke when it doesn't get adequate oil. It will get oil once it comes closer. So technically this is the same flame because this flame was lit from the previous flame, so I that's how I've been doing it. As I mentioned, I don't really go via scriptures. I don't even know anything of scriptures. I just practically think through what should be the right way, and this is what I practically came up with. I don't know what the other temples do for when they have to remove the wick and put a new wick in. But as I told you, I saw in the Somnath temple for the Akhand Diya, they had a very, very long wick. It's quite possible that some of these temples might actually do it with a little more pomp. Like, every time the wick changing ceremony, maybe it's like a ceremony, they'll have some sacred mantra threads or something and they may do it. But anyway, this is pretty much done now. This oil and oil, I'll take some cotton and I'll wipe it, and the inner cleaning will happen later when it's time.